It's Wednesday, and it's time for the Contrarians live chat. The topic tonight, crap covers by our top 5 favorite bands. Panel's here. We are ready. We want to hear from you. So without any further ado, let's get this started. Hey, welcome to the Wednesday live chat. This is the Contrarians, and the gang's all here. Martin Popoff, Jamie Laszlo, and Peter Kerr. And the chat room's open. We want to hear from you. And tonight we are talking crap covers by our top favorite 5 bands. So I'll tell you, gentlemen, this was a very difficult process because I had to figure out what my top 5 bands were. So that was half the battle. And I don't know about
the bonus people get today, right? They get to see what our favorite 5 bands are. So
today.
Yeah.
There are some that obviously I had to leave them out. So anyway, chat room's open. We want to welcome everybody here tonight. Please let us know what your favorite album covers are from your top 5 favorite bands, or however many bands you want to discuss. We are going to discuss 5. So let's just go around the horn. I'm just going to start go clockwise. Martin, Peter Kerr, Jamie Laszlo, and then follow up with me.
Yes,
so Martin, take it away.
As what happened on the Facebook page earlier today, I mean, feel free to tell us your crappiest cover versions too, if you want. I see those are coming on already. We've already got a vote for Johnny B. Good, Judas Priest. So, but yes, we meant album covers, so that's what we're talking about here. So I'm going to start with Deep Purple. Deep Purple definitely has some crappy album covers, but one that has always annoyed me. And yes, I have called Deep Purple my favorite band from time to time. It's one of these bands where they've got a massive, massive long catalog. I love almost everything they've done except for Mark I and the classical album. But other than that, pretty much love everything. So I've said Deep Purple from time to time. But yeah, they've got some Perpendicular was not the most beautiful thing in the world. I'm keeping it modern here, actually. Rapture of the Deep was not the most beautiful thing in the world. Abandon I quite like. That was done by a buddy of mine, Johannes. Very cool album cover. But the one that annoys me to no end, Whoosh was good too. Infinite's pretty cool. Now What? I'm the grammar police around the Contrarians, and this drives me crazy because first of all, we've got a question mark for the P in purple and an exclamation mark for the L. That's not terrible. But you've got, this is very annoying album cover. Number 1, I mean, look at it. It's just white with purple. So you've got Now What? Now is all in caps, and What is in upper lower. The question mark and exclamation mark, at least they're in the right order. Drives me crazy when people go exclamation mark, question mark. At least they're in the right order, but they're not in the right place. So you look at Wiki, and anytime anybody has to talk about this album, they have to spend a few seconds trying to figure out what the heck it's called, and how to put the proper grammar and case for it and stuff. So yeah, and I just don't like the title anyways. Now What? I mean, it's not bad, but at least help us out and put everything in the right place on it. So yeah, very, very annoying. Caps now, blah, blah, blah. Now What? So there you go. Definitely one of my favorite bands. Terrible album cover. Turn it over to who's next? Peter?
Yeah, Peter Kerr.
Alrighty. Well, I'm going to go to the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones have always been one of my top 5 bands. And for the purpose of this show, I'm probably going to break a few rules because my top 5 bands change all the time. I'm going to go with Dirty Work.
Yeah.
It's a shocker. They're all wearing the Miami Vice suits, pinks, pastels. And this was at the period where Mick and Keith were at war. Now, Keith wasn't very friendly with Mick because Mick had a bit of a solo career. He thought that his allegiance should have belonged to the Rolling Stones. And if you read Keith's book or Mick's book, basically there was a lot of acrimony. This album always gets sort of ragged as one of their worst. There's some nuggets on this album that I don't mind, like Harlem Shuffle's got a little bit of, groove to it. One Hit to the Body I like because it's got Jimmy Page. There's a few good songs on it, but when you compare it to the Mick Taylor era or even the Brian Jones era, it's not even a patch on that. So it's a bit of a 2-star album, but definitely this album cover, it kind of sucks and it looks very, very dated. It sums up 1986 Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
But Peter, did it look dated in 1986?
Probably. It had a very short shelf life.
By 87.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, by 87 it was old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love this photo. It looks like look at the position of Mick. It looks like he's ready to kick Keith off the green lounge. Get off.
Yeah, no one looks too happy. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Let's see. What do we got in the chat, Martin? Do you see anything in there?
Yeah, we got Corn. We got The Band is high on my list. High on the Hog. Terrible album cover. We got Kiss Elder. Yeah, that's not a great one. Bass Player 77 agrees with you that One Hit to the Body is good. We got 6 from Extreme. Brian McFadden is not a fan of Yes 90125. He's definitely made a statement. Nice choice of inks, though that's not like a 4-color process job. They actually use real Pantone PMS numbered inks. Long story, I used to be in the printing business.
Define crap. Badly done note for note cover or a different version which does not work.
Yeah. Well, there we are with a cover song. So as we said earlier, go ahead and tell us your favorite cover song.
You might as well.
Your worst cover songs as well. Give us whatever you got over there. But we got High on the Hog, Black Oak, Arkansas. Yeah, it's not a great cover. Very, very hee-haw. Some of those Street Party was one of those album covers that made me think this might be a heavy band, and I bought it and I thought the band sucked. Neil Young Reactor. Yeah, they're coming in. Yep, anyways, Jamie, over to you.
All right, Jamie.
Well, Martin, I knew you were picking Now What by Deep Purple, and I never minded it. I don't know how you would write that in a book, though. Would you put now all in caps and what?
Normally? No, like if you go to Wiki, they've gotten rid of the all caps for now. So now they just do it upper, lower now, upper, lower what, and then immediately you put the question mark and the exclamation mark, which is, yeah.
Well, I want to show you this because I thought you'd get a kick out of it. This is arguably my favorite. It's contrarian to say, but this is arguably my favorite Deep Purple album. What's it called again?
Who do you think we are?
Yeah, who do we think? And I had this book. A lot of us had this Christmas book when we were a kid.
And I had that book.
It's been around since 1949.
Oh, God.
Okay. Look at this.
Wow.
Holy crap. It's the same thing.
Nice.
That's cool. Ideas police, get them out.
Yeah. So I'm going to go. I don't know where to start. I'll just start with what's in front of me. The Cult, Born Into This. It's one of those bands where I just, about a year ago, I said, God, I love this band. And I never put them in my top 5 favorites, but I think they are.
Yeah.
Born Into This, the album is very bland. It's just the words. If you get the vinyl, if you get the CD, this is as big as the words get. On the CD, there's no words at all. So you go from boom to nothing. And this is very bland. It looks like, it folds out like this. And it looks like it should be the thing in the middle, but it's not. It's the thing outside. And this should be the cover, which isn't that much better, but it's better than this plain old fox jumping over bones with no text, nothing, just a black background. Very boring.
Yeah.
Decent album, though. Decent album.
Yeah. Nice choice. Oh, we're getting a vote for Genesis Duke. Yeah, that one annoyed a lot of people. Queen the Miracle is pretty annoying with the faces all melded together.
Oh, that's horrible.
That one drives people nuts. Gentle Giant, 3 Friends, Max Webster, Universal Juveniles. Yeah, with just Kim in yellow spandex, looking long and skinny. That one drove people stupid. Hey, Stupid, Alice Cooper. Yeah, that one is definitely annoying. Maiden, Dance of Death, of course. They're coming in. These are all sensible answers. So Grant, over to you.
All right, here we go. As you know, if you followed me, it all comes back to Cheap Trick. And Cheap Trick has had plenty of bad album covers. But this is the worst Cheap Trick album cover ever. Woke up with a
God.
monster, Warner Brothers from 1994. Now the record's not too bad. They're kind of coming back. It's not. This was Ted Templeman production. It's getting better. There's some great stuff on here. But where's the Cheap Trick logo? What am I really looking at here? The font's just absolutely hideous, and the photo's hideous. Who came up with this?
Yeah.
And it's not really a monster, is it? I mean, he's scary, but it's not a monster.
Yeah.
Could be a serial killer for all we know. Jeez.
Or is she supposed to be the monster? I don't know.
That's the worst album cover I've ever seen.
And at the same time, it looks kind of corporate too. At the same time, right?
It does look corporate.
Looks like a hair metal album cover.
Should be called "Woke Up After a Hard Night of Drinking."
Yeah,
it's just bad.
Exactly.
And I don't mind.
I thought you were going to pick the Doctor.
The Doctor's better than this.
Okay.
This is just poorly done, poorly executed.
And I'm sure the album tanked, Grant.
Oh, of course. They weren't selling any records during this period. No.
Oh, some votes are coming in for Queensryche, The Warning. Yeah, not very good. The Police first album, Except Balls to the Wall. Yeah, we talked about that one before here. Yeah, all makes sense. Are these your favorite bands, though, people? Remember, got to be your favorite band.
Top 5 favorite band?
Or one of your top 5. So,
all right, Martin, over to you.
So next, I'm going to go with I've often said ZZ Top is one of my top 5 favorite bands. Again, a catalog that I just love to death, all of it, and I'm a big supporter of the later years. I really, really like Rhythmine a lot. I've talked about Rhythmine a lot. I love Tejas. So I love everything this band does. La Futura's a little bit of a drop off. Maybe the first couple albums not the greatest. The 80s stuff. I got time for all of them, actually. But in later years, they've got, Antenna's not that great. La Futura's not that great. Mescalero's pretty cool, but still pretty simple. But I reserve the worst. These are almost interchangeable to me. They kind of look similar, but so Rhythmine is just a barnstormer of a good, heavy album. The worst part about this, unfortunately, it's Greg Morrow drumming and not Frank Beard, so it's not sacrosanct the ZZ Top lineup, but it's one of the greatest drum performances ever on an album. Love it to death. But XXX, I'm definitely going for as the really bad one here. It looks like a single or an EP or something. Doesn't look like an album, just kind of thrown together. Never liked that XXX title either. And it kind of goes with the album because the album's a little bit chopped up. It's short. It's got like some live stuff on it. It's got some sort of redo feels of songs like Sin Pusher, Pincushion. But yeah. The funny story about this one is Poke Chop Sandwich is about I don't know, some famous old blues drummer. And the funny thing about this guy is that he never used his floor tom because that's where he'd keep the lunch that his wife would pack for him every day. So he'd keep that there and his cigarettes and his lighter on his floor tom. So he'd never use his floor tom. So anyways, there you go. ZZ Top XXX.
Good one. All right, Peter Kerr, what you got?
All right. Well, I'm going to give us a little bit of Deep Purple. So Deep Purple are one of my favorite bands. I'm a bit of a tragic when it comes to Deep Purple. I love all eras, including Mark I, and I don't mind the concerto as well. But I'm going to do the House of the Blue Light. This is a very ordinary album cover. I don't know what they were thinking. And when you look at the door, it's got all these sort of symbols, and they just don't make any sense. The back cover has just got all these random sort of shapes, and I think it's just very lazy. And when you look at the blue door, it looks so flimsy. If you shut the door, I think the whole set would collapse. But this is an album that came straight after Perfect Strangers, which I don't mind that album cover. It's very strong. It's got the DP symbol. But I think anything after that were not a patch on their 70s album covers. This is an album is not too bad. I like Bad Attitude, Spanish Archer, and Strange Ways. But all the momentum and goodwill they had with Perfect Strangers sort of dissipated with this album. There were a lot of, Richie and Ian were warring again, and the rest is history. But this is my pick as a pretty ordinary album cover. And I don't know if you can see, there's a little rat at the bottom just coming out. So that's not a good sign for an album when the rat's coming out of the door. Maybe there's rats in the rank. Yeah, I don't know. I only just saw that, noticed that. Anyway,
Funny.
House of the Blue Light.
Symbolism.
Nice.
Represents somebody.
Michael Easter takes the prize here because he's picked GNR Spaghetti Incident, which is both a covers album and a bad album cover. So that's kind of cool.
It's 2 points.
We got Beatles' White Album. Yeah, it's not a great cover, of course. Aerosmith had a bad cover for that last studio album. Yeah, absolutely, and wasn't very good. So yeah, we're getting a few in here for sure. All right,
cool.
Jamie.
All right, this has been a very important band to me since God knows when, since the beginning of time. Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and sometimes Young. Hot Dogs on the Moon. Very stupid. Doesn't make much sense. In the back, you got the astronauts eating chili dogs with the hot dog stand on the moon. Maybe this could work for certain bands, maybe a little new wavy band. It wouldn't be as bad.
Maybe.
But something like Crosby, Stills, and Nash with acoustic guitars. But this does have a lot of keyboards on it and stuff. I mean, this is 1994-ish. So, yeah. One buddy of mine, I remember, we were drinking, and he goes, maybe the fourth hot dog is supposed to be Neil Young, and they're cutting him away. All right. Hey, that's better than anything else I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So, Hot Dogs on the Moon, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yeah, that's pretty crap.
Hey, sure. Jamie, what do you think of Allies? Do you like that cover?
Oh, man. The version of Dark Star on that album, my wife loves that song, but she only likes the live version off that album.
Cover, though, very 80s.
Oh, the cover, it is what it is. 1983.
Yeah. All right,
Grant, you're up.
Cool. All right. Okay. Well, we did a Big April Wine series on my channel that we just finished. My choice, though, you could pick many April Wine covers. It wasn't until they got their contract with Capitol Records and First Glance came out, but everything else prior, just crap. And I could have picked any of them, but for some reason, this one drives me crazy because I hate that April Wine logo that they're using here. Forever for Now, I'm not crazy about the font. The album is really a Miles Goodwin solo album under the April Wine name. I don't know. It's got a lot going for it, even though on the series, there were some people that love this record. I don't dig the cover. Pick any of those early April Wine covers. No good.
Yeah. Cool.
All
right. So I'm going to Grant forbid me for going I was not allowed to go with this for XTC Drums and Wires. It's kind of cool. I've never been a fan of these shaken and stirred Genesis Abacab abstract art type covers. Never been a big fan of them. But anyway, so Grant, in all his wisdom, we collaborated, and he's basically allowed me to pick the Big Express. Yeah. So I've got the Big Express here, but they've got a few that other ones that aren't that great. And by the way, I am picking XTC because this is probably, I've often said this about The Damned as well, but this is probably my most played band of the last 20 years. I love XTC to death. Love everything they've done, especially all the middle stuff. I'd say the middle 75% are a whole bunch of my favorite albums of all time. But not the greatest album covers. They're always trying to be fairly artistic to go with how incredibly artistic the band is. So XTC, the Big Express.
Yeah, I
didn't know that was a top 5 for you. I didn't know it was that high for you.
I love
XTC's in my top 5 too, but because you picked it, I didn't pick it. But I would have picked the Big Express.
Okay.
I actually think Drums and Wires is pretty cool. Well, obviously.
We got the Monkey's Head coming in. Led Zeppelin 4 for sure. Led Zeppelin Coda. Yeah, Zeppelin's got some not great
Head's
ones.
pretty good, I think.
BOC Club Ninja. BOC's, that's a tough one because they got so many great covers, right? Got AC/DC Back in Black mentioned. All right, Peter, on to you.
All right. Well, sorry, folks.
No, hang on. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's I did XTC. Yep. Okay, go.
Yep.
Sorry, folks. I'm going to break a few rules here. So technically, this may be a solo artist, but he's fronted a band. But I have to pick it because he's one in my all-time greats. So I'm going to pick David Bowie, The Next Day. So when this album dropped in 2013, we were really blessed because Bowie had been kind of semi-retired close to 10 years, and this just dropped out of the blue. High quality. But the thing that sort of ticked me off about this album, it's like Heroes with a Post-it note on it. and it sort of frustrated me that the album cover could have been a little bit better. I understand there's a little bit of a conceptual art thing going here, and the whole album is about looking back and kind of looking forward, because I've got this theory that Bowie knew he was ill, and it was a race against time to get output. And this is such a high quality album, but I just don't like the Post-it note. I'm a huge Bowie fan. I just love everything about the guy. He's, 70s era, the Ziggy Stardust era, all the different shape shifting, even the 80s material. But this is a great album. Don't get me wrong. But as one of his, sort of album covers, I think it's one of the least ones because of that whole Post-it note feel. So that's it. David Bowie, The Next Day.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Bad one.
Or a bad one.
You got to hand it to him. It's a pretty artistic thing, but at the same time, it is totally annoying, right?
Yeah,
it is.
I thought it was
it's
a
an
mistake
annoying
when
thing.
I first saw it. I'm like, that can't be the cover.
And you wanted to peel it off just to see what's behind.
I didn't think it was the cover either. I thought, what is this? I didn't get it.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie, what you got?
Maybe that album would have worked better if he did the same pose, but in 2013. I don't know.
Like Phil Collins.
Yeah.
Like the Phil Collins, remasters.
And that whole pose is because that's how the famous Austrian artist Egon Schiele did a lot of his iconic paintings. He's got his hands held in all sorts of different ways, and Bowie liked that. And that's like an iconic Egon Schiele pose.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Martin with the backstories.
Well, we got to have the backstory.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Soundgarden. They, when they were on Sub Pop Records, it was cool to have like these, raw album covers. But when they got signed to A&M, maybe they should have just stepped it up a little bit. This looks like an EP or a live album. Maybe this could work on the back. You know how they'll have live shots on the back, but on the front, and then the Soundgarden being separate and not even like over the picture. It looks more raw than what the music is. And when this came out, I worked in a record store and I was like, all the hair, it's turning me off. So a guy told me, he said, dude, one day, I got tickets to 2 shows next Friday and tonight. It was Friday. We can go tonight and see blah, 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 or you can go next Friday with me and see Soundgarden. I was like, let's go tonight. I'm impatient. I know Soundgarden. I saw the album, but turned me off the album cover. Well, I found out the band I saw, I don't remember, and there were 12 people at that Soundgarden concert.
Wow.
It was a little place upstairs called the Upstage. Oh my God. I'm always kicking myself for that.
Yeah. Wow. That's
So that
cool
album
story.
cover actually partially made me miss it.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie, I don't know if you were around in Central Ohio, but do you remember when Nirvana played Stashes?
No, I wasn't here for that,
Okay.
but yeah,
They played Stashes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, back
And all the Soundgarden album covers are terrible, right?
Well,
you think down on
I
the
think the
upside.
later ones are better.
I like this. That's pretty iconic.
Yeah. And what is it called? King Animal? Is that?
King Animal is cool. I even like
That's
Down
cool.
on the Upside.
I don't like Down on the Upside. Just that whole Charles Peterson, right, is the name of the photographer who's the iconic, the hair and the blurry live shot photographer, right? That's why you see his stuff throughout a lot of that stuff. Green River, Mudhoney, Nirvana, right?
Right.
So yeah, you're right. That looks like, and what's the name of the album? Who knows? Soundgarden.
Yeah. Louder
Self-titled.
Than Love.
Yeah.
Now the VHS called Louder Than Live, they use that. Same thing. Makes sense. Louder Than Live. But
yeah.
Down on the Upside might be the worst, says Brian.
I got it Down on the Upside t-shirt. With the album.
Well, if he's
Brian
got a shirt,
McFadden's-
it's good.
Brian McFadden's mentioning Mudhoney and Fugazi had similar covers. VTV Classic, CCR Mardi Gras. Yeah, that's a depressing looking cover. The Helicopters by the Grace of God. Mahogany Rush, Tales of the Unexpected. Looks like a virus infected AI drew it. Funny. He's got some good ones and some not great ones, I suppose. Frank Marino does. But all right, Grant.
All right, here we go. Let's see. Let's go with, okay. The Contrarians, we recently did a Dark Horse episode on Kilroy was here by Styx. So I've been on a Styx mode. So this week or today, Styx is one of my top favorite bands, but they've also had some crappy covers. Once they got off A&M, things are kind of sketchy. And I'm going to go with Styx, Brave New World from 1999.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear is right. You've got no classic Styx logo. In fact, you've got some horrible font here. You've got this. I'm not even sure what's going on here. She's staring into the Brave New World, but I don't get it.
Wearing a Hulu dress.
Looking.
It just has nothing to do with the band. It doesn't tell me. If I saw this in the store, I'm looking at it and I'm just going to, it doesn't bring me in. It doesn't make me want to buy it.
Does it come with complimentary crystals, that album? Jeez. It's very new age looking, isn't it?
Yeah. How's the music? I've never heard it.
Sorry. Yeah. Kind of commercial. But this is when Tommy Shaw came back and it was the classic lineup again. So it's okay.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have a redo of the cover.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
that's my
William Walker is mentioning Griffin, Protector of the Lair. Yeah, I seem to remember. I can't picture it, but I hear that's a really terrible album cover. I'm sure it's not on one of your top 5 favorite bands, William.
Oh, wait a minute. William Walker mentions Gamma 3.
Eddie Vedder's ukulele album, Blind Faith 69, Montrose self-titled. Yeah, that's a classic, terrible one, isn't it, William?
Now, is Blind Faith one of your favorite bands? They only have one album.
Yeah. He's just mentioning there's a bunch of bad album covers here. Mountains debut, Deep Purple Bananas. They got a lot of heck for that. That sort of stock photo of the harvesting of the bananas, the back of the truck there. Deep Purple Burn is an awesome cover. I love that cover.
Brilliant.
That's
Chris
cool.
Flood, the Big Carrot was worse.
I
said, Chris. They had a slew of bad covers once they got off A&M.
The Storm Thorgerson style, right? The Anthrax thing and the Division Bell. That's when he was doing those sorts of things. So, all right. My turn. Nothing too exciting here, but I just wanted to make a point because we're actually going to do a future episode on this, right? But I went with AC/DC, Who Made Who, and I have actually heard people be confused because it looks so much like Blow Up Your Video and it's in close proximity to it, right? This comes just before this. And, this is bad. It's just a bad picture of Angus with a bad title and it's blurry. The colors aren't good. That blue ain't hot. And then this ain't that great either. It's not a great shot of him. And of course, it's a weird short compilation soundtrack album. So, none of that is sort of made clear with the front of it. It just looks like I kind of almost like that because, when they have those complicated titles, motion picture sound and music from the soundtrack and all that, it gets kind of weird. So I like that about it. But yeah, people have actually told me, hey, I thought this was this or this was this. I didn't know they were 2 separate albums. So. And AC/DC, I've ranted about many times. They're way up the top of my list of having the highest percentage of terrible album covers.
They should have just used the cover poster for Maximum Overdrive and call it the soundtrack to Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah,
Green Goblin on front of the semi.
Yeah, bad.
All right, Peter.
All right. Well, this is a band where their artistic decisions around 79, 80 were definitely influenced by way too much cocaine. And I'm talking about Tusk. What is that? So you've got a dog tugging at a person's jeans, but in the context of things, it's just, I can't explain it. I like this album a lot. It's a contrarian pick. It's probably one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac albums because I think they were being artistically brave. Lindsey Buckingham is definitely taking over the band. He was listening to a lot of outside music like The Clash and various other things, new wave that were happening at the time. So I'm a contrarian. I think this is one of their best albums. But just as an album cover, yeah, I've never sort of understand it. Tusk.
To make kind of a deep point, those troubadour bands, that whole country singer-songwriter scene from California, they all had these kind of drab brown album covers, right? They were just never very good with the album covers. I mean, Eagles rose to the challenge with, frankly, I think part of 10% of the Eagles' fame is they came up with that wicked logo, right? That made them look really tough and cool, right? But generally speaking, you get a lot of bad album covers from those bands, right? They're trying to be traditional and country and rootsy and all that sort of thing. But you think of the Fleetwood Mac album covers, and they're just, here's a corporate looking picture of the band on the cover and muted colors, and they had some terrible ones. Heroes Are Hard to
I think
Find.
I would have gone with that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the
bad.
past they got some real horrors. That's for sure.
I think Fleetwood Mac. I mean, I think Rumours is iconic. I know it's a little bit sort of sepia tone, but that's iconic. Mirage that came after this is much better. Tango in the Night, yeah, that's an improvement, but this one is definitely, it goes into what you're saying. It's just extremely drab.
Yeah,
but there's
a weird corporateness. There's a corporateness to those ones. It's almost like you can feel that the Capitol building is right down the road, down Sunset Strip or whatever, right? It just feels like it's all kind of like cozy corporate California. At least Tusk, you got some embossing on it too, right?
Yeah, I think so. The photograph.
Well, it looks like they pumped some money into it. It's not like it's not like Deep Purple where let's just use this.
Yeah.
At least they really tried to produce something, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But
we've got to mention for Amagama, we've got AC/DC was really bad after Flick of the Switch. Yeah, true, Chris. Aerosmith Just Push Play. Yeah, definitely that was bad. Neil Young Landing on Water. Moxie's first two album covers, have nothing on the cover, just a big crappy Moxie logo. Black and white for the first one, red and I think it's white for the second one, or red and silver or something.
Or Just Push Play looks like an autograph album.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Moxie Riding High is kind of cool. Yeah. All right. So who's up?
I believe I am.
Yeah, Jamie's up.
Well, I had to go to her sooner or later, didn't I? I have a few issues with this album with my girl Pat. It's the only time she kind of let me down with an album. It's been 20 years since she came out with it, but it's their last album, but I hope she doesn't go out on this one. I hope she's got one more left in her. And the problem I have with this album is, and everything is forced on this album, the production, the songwriting, and the album cover. It's very, here we are in 2003, guys. We're in the 21st century, and there's her husband. Holy shit, I'm here too. And then they're kind of screaming at each other there. It's all very in your face, and that's the issue I have with this album. Now, there are some good moments and decent songs on here and there, and it's been growing on me a little bit all the time because I always give it another shot. But I'm gonna go with Pat Benatar.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? Grace Jones, right? The various Grace Jones album covers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of makeup. It's like, hey, we can hang with the young folks too.
Yeah.
We're here.
I don't mind it. I think it's stark.
Yeah.
I think maybe I don't know.
I think it's the music too and everything combined that makes me look. She's one of my favorites. I had to pick one, right?
Yes, you did. Absolutely. Played by the rules. All right, Grant, you're up.
All right, here we go. I'm going with the Byrds. I love the Byrds. I love everything in the Byrds catalog up until Notorious Bird Brothers, 1967. Then everything after that, it becomes more of a Roger McGuinn solo project under the Byrds name. But this record, Dr. Byrds and Mr. Hyde, came out in 1969. And you've got the band, and it kind of speaks for itself. I don't mind the font. The font's very 2000, Space Odyssey, but I don't know. There's just something about these guys hanging out, wearing vests and hats, and I don't know. It looks something from 1966, not 1969.
I thought I knew at least the name of every Byrds album. I've never seen that one.
Well, this one never really sold very much, and it got pretty bad reviews when it came out. So people try to forget this one.
I got a question for you, Grant. You said 2001 Space Odyssey. Is that truly the 2001 Space Odyssey?
It just reminds me of that.
Because, I've often thought, okay, so yeah, it's not what I'm thinking exactly, but the whole story of the Scorpions font is that like rollerball was a really big deal.
It's like the
at that
rollerball
time.
song.
Remember, did you guys ever, or maybe you're not old enough, but yeah, the whole rollerball thing caused a lot of injuries, put it that way, among me and my buddies.
James
right?
Caan.
Yeah, that was an amazing. That was a hit movie. The kids love that, right? But yeah, so apparently, I believe how the story works is that the Scorpions logo is directly influenced by rollerball.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see that.
And that's a little bit like it, but I guess that's a little different.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think this is a bad cover. 1969, that doesn't look cool and hip to me. You know,
it looks like Mr. Hyde's been compressed. They run out of space, so they've stretched out Dr. Birds, and Mr. Hyde is like kind of run out of space, and I've got to compress it.
It also looks like in a few seconds, the guy from the cover of Black Sabbath Paranoid's going to come through and start chopping them up.
I wish he would.
Now, Martin, come on.
Yeah.
Hey, if he was in there, would have made a better cover.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We got any comments? Oh,
what do we got? Rollerball is a classic. Led Zeppelin, How the West Was Won. Yeah, that's a crappy cover for it was a pretty big deal when that thing came out, and it just looked like a thrown together corporate sort of cover, right? Yeah, not very good. All right, so I'm up. Last one. I'm going with Thin Lizzy, Shades of a Blue Orphanage, one of the most depressing looking covers you can imagine. It's got these 3 sad orphans on it. It's Shades of a Blue Orphanage is like a play on some early pre-Thin Lizzy band names, Shades and Orphanage. It's got really old timey logo. For a 1972 album, this thing looks like a 1966 album. And the first one doesn't look much newer. There's your first Thin Lizzy album. It looks just as ancient. That one's got an alternate cover. And then, to finish off the Eric Bell era, Jim Fitzpatrick comes into the scene and they come up with a really cool cover for the last one that Eric Bell is on, Vagabonds of the Western World. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, there you go. There's your CD of it. But Shades is, what this reminds me of? We had a smart commenter who mentioned CCR Mardi Gras. This reminds me of Mardi Gras. Kind of the same old sepia tone, historic photo kind of deal. So there you go. Now I'm depressed.
You still got another show to do, Martin, at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. I got to do Guitar Hack about the police. At 8.
Boy, here we go. Yeah. All right. Let's go over to Peter Kerr. Peter, what's your last one?
Well, breaking the rules again. I'm going to pick another solo artist, but he's been supported by so many great bands, and I'm talking about Prince. But this one is an absolute shocker. This is Emancipation. And this is when Prince was at war with Warner Brothers and he wanted to get out of his contract. And a way of that was he was known as the love symbol. So he was putting so much material out in the 90s, around 96. And this was like a triple album. I think it didn't do so well. So you've got the inner sleeve and it says slave. He was really at war. And then there's all these photos of, Paisley Park. He's got the grand piano out in his car, so there's a lot of bling shots. Look, it's not a bad album, but it would have made a great single album. And a lot of the material of Prince in the 90s onwards, he was just putting so much. There was always 3 or 4 gems. But to me, the 80s period of Prince has always been one of my favorites. He's one of my top 5 artists. Purple Rain and Sign of the Times, they're 10 out of 10 albums, and they're in my upper echelon of favorites albums of all time. But Emancipation.
I don't know why you think you're breaking the rules. You're allowed to have solo artists.
Okay, there you go.
Bands, artists, all the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to.
It's just a very cheap
because Led Zeppelin was your favorite.
Yeah.
But look, that album cover just looks really cheap, and he's taking out an issue that he's got with a record company and putting it out into his art, and we lose. So
it looks like a low budget reggae album from 1982.
Yeah.
Yes,
it does.
Yeah.
Well, all those post Warner Brothers covers aren't all that pure.
Or a hip hop album, right?
Crystal Ball, I don't think is very good.
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my vote in for Love Sexy.
Right.
I like that album cover.
Oh,
Well,
William Walker's
yeah.
mentioned the Venom album covers, saying they're downright boring, to be frank. And, they are, but they're obviously iconic too. And they really helped that band get some notoriety. We got Can't Tune a Piano, but you can tune a fish. Yeah, there's my favorite band.
Yeah, Chris says that's not a tuna.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, we've got also LA Woman. Yeah, that's a crap cover. That's for sure. Rush Counterparts. Yeah. Yeah. Manowar, Sign of the Hammer. Yeah, that one didn't look like your standard Manowar album cover. That's for sure. That was confusing, that one. Queen 2 and Sheer Heart Attack, pretty unexciting. Yeah, Queen 2 is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But a lot of sweat on Sheer Heart Attack. Steely Dan, Pretzel Logic, Witchfinder General album covers. Yeah, we know why those are notorious. Bon Jovi, Burning the Bridges. All right, so who's up? Jamie?
Yeah, I got a contrarian one.
Okay.
This album cover was probably I wasn't into the band in 1980. I was about 2.5 years late. At the time, it was very cool. But now going back, looking at like Iron Maiden's second album, see how he's got the axe in his hand and he's doing things. Here he's got the devil as a puppet, and here Eddie's got the sword, and now he's in a straitjacket, and this iconic thing where he's a cyborg. But now that you know all that and you go back and look at the first album, there goes one. It's like he's not doing anything with his hands. In fact, they're not even up. He would be standing like this, doing absolutely nothing, like he's lost somewhere. And it seems like it should be. His face is a little too thin, too. And it seems like it should be a gatefold, and you would fold it out kind of like Phantom Comes Alive, and you see the rest of them. Because it's only from the shoulders up, and it's a little... I know it's the first album. It was cool at the time. Looking back...
the other thing, Jamie, that always bothered me about those is that Derek doesn't get a good likeness of. He doesn't even he seems incapable of drawing what Eddie looks like from album to album, right? Like the Killers Eddie does not look like that Eddie, and then the Number of the Beast Eddie doesn't look like either of those two either, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay, you're kind of breaking a rookie drawing rule here that you're supposed to be able to at least get a likeness. That is what they say. Get the likeness, right? And the likeness is missed, right? But then I think it smooths out as you move on, and the likeness stays sort of similar. But those first 3, 4, it's a little up and down, right?
Right. But I have the same issue with this as well. Arms down, shoulders up, just standing there looking at you. Give me something.
Yeah.
Cool. Got to start somewhere, Jamie. Got to start somewhere.
I know. But just looking back,
right?
Yeah, one of my favorite bands, top 5. Figured I'd throw in something like that.
Great album.
All right. Well, down to mine. Of course, my favorite band of all times, the Beatles. It'll always be the Beatles. But if I could find the graphic, it would be great. Well, there it is. Okay. It's hard to produce and do this. All right. So 1966, the final album before they re-signed with EMI or Capitol. And it used to be like in the early 60s, the Beatles, Capitol Records would get all their tracks or whatever and make more albums than they'd like make 2 albums out of 1 album. Okay. So Yesterday and Today from 1966 originally had this Butcher cover. This is what they call the Butcher cover. This is an Ethan Russell photograph. This was a photograph that the Beatles wanted. They chose this. And they told Capitol, we want this. This has to come out like this. I think it was basically a statement because Capitol had been butchering their albums for years. So anyway, when they sent it out, people were up in arms. So they pulled it and then they put out the new cover, the trunk cover, which is very boring. I'd rather have this. Yeah, this is pretty daring for 1966, but it's really not in very good taste, Yeah. But
that's the holy grail of records. If you have an original of that, it's worth a lot of coin.
Yeah. I've seen it at a record show.
Well, my friend Pat, who owns a record store here in town, he's got 2 of them. He's got one that's a second state, And then he's got one that's, I've never seen one before until I saw his.
I bet it's a 4-figure sum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go, kids. That's my final
Nice.
one. How are we
Nice,
on
very
time?
cool. Oh, just a couple more have come in. Yeah, great choice. The Judas Priest live album from the mid '80s, right? Is like Judas Priest live with the brown and the black. Yeah, that's pretty insane. That one reminds me of Tusk a little bit, right? Just trying to be super minimalist with it, right? Eloy doesn't have any bad album covers. Yeah, Eloy had great album covers. That's true, William. Yeah. Let It Bleed. Yeah, I think we featured Let It Bleed on a previous show.
See, I
right?
like Let It Bleed. I don't know why no one else likes it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I don't like
Ryan
the
Murphy,
silver
my
on mine.
contribution, Snakes and Arrows by Rush, cover design chosen by Neil, and he veered from Hugh Symes' design for the record. Bad choice. The album is far superior to the cover. Yeah. Good one. All right. Wrap her up, Grant.
All right. Well, kids, we've just done it. We did it in 46 minutes. So I want to thank the panel, Martin, Peter Kerr, and Jamie Laszlo. If I can get all these comments off the screen, that'd be great. Okay, so I want to thank everybody in the chat for showing up. It was a lot of fun. We'll be doing it again next Wednesday. So same time, same channel, 7 p.m. But if you'd like to be on any of these panels, we have a Ko-fi. You could join. You could be on one of these panels. And we also have the Patreon. We've got everything. And we got TeePublic. Yeah. Let It Bleed was the one with the cake. Yeah. But anybody, hey, thanks everybody for showing up, and we'll see you next week. We'll leave it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Everybody.
Bye.
See you later.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.